Just with like, oh, I hate this so much, dude. I hate Spectrum so much.
I'm not in the mood for your vagueness today.
So how many matches? 8 matches left.
Yeah, like what do you mean? Give me
Um,
specificities. Who left me where? Where should I go?
let's
Should I go
go a
right?
high
Should I go
one.
or should I go left?
All right, here we go. I think Randy would be a pretty big fan of this. Got some rhinos. I mean, this game potentially over. They block. They go up to 5, go to 12, 4, 6, 8, 11. I guess Endurance blocks one of these guys. So I guess not necessarily over.
How's that working for you?
Is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. So yeah, this is like kind of a 2-mana 5/5 lifelink. That seems pretty good, honestly. All things considered. We'll kind of see. So then they attack. Attack. This just says lifelink. I mean, is there?
Somebody woke up choosing violence this morning.
I mean, you attack with this, they just block. I mean, I guess you could. I guess if they just have like a reanimate spell, they just be like attack, trade with like a Rhino token. They go like Rhino token, a Shardless Agent, and then I guess give them the choice, and then you get to bring this kind of back. Could also just like take 5, so then they go to they're both at 12, and then this ends up kind of backfiring. So I don't know exactly if I don't think this attack is necessarily good because like they're, I guess they could assume that they're going to block, but at the same time, like if they don't block, like they just did, it's not that great because now maybe it's like the same thing. So they get in for 8, 10, 12, 15. They have to put an endurance in front of the Rhino now. 4, 8, 8, 10, 12. I mean, this is exactly lethal. So yeah, now they have to go. No, all right. I mean, if they have something to like bounce like a Rhino token, uh, that ends up like working out kind of for them. But like this is just lethal. Okay, swords. That's something. So swords a Rhino token. They go to 16. I think the attack might have been just a little. I think a little out of place. Now, if this is just like pay full price for a Force of Will, then this is pretty brutal. Yeah, this is just hard cast Force of Will on the swords. And game over. Yeah, they just. I think if they wanted to, they could have blocked. They could have blocked a Rhino. They take 4, 8. No, that's still lethal. Yeah, just the fact that like the attack was probably a little too much. Like they probably could have waited a turn with this and held off most of the team and everything. So a little unfortunate, honestly, if we think about it. Could have just held off. And back to Moto. Keep swapping back and forth.
Okay, quiet down. You gotta stay quiet.
See if we can get
If you want to listen to
into
some music, you gotta go in your room.
Moto. Can we please go to it before? No, I guess not. Dude. Hello, where are you? does not like me like doing like flip-flopping back. So looks like we have a this is gonna be nice. So we have like goblins versus like lands. The opponent can technically like attack and then boast like throwing this matron at the fiend artisan to just get in these 2 points of damage. Of course, like they can wait till a little awkward. They wait till blocks because like if they recognize this, a fiend artisan. Oh, this says menace. Duh. Yeah, and they can just do this anyway. So then they force the opponent to do so. If they would have actually like blocked the matron, I guess they would have let it happen. They probably don't want to get rid of Chrome Mox because they need or want the mana for like potential ringleaders. You know, future matrons as well can go find like a 1 mana spell. But you know, if this is matron, okay, so they can go get this. They can technically throw 5 at their opponent from this, so they can go and get something Amuxus. So I'm guessing potentially like just going for like a knockout, but the Bombardier gets snuffed out. Having to pay 4 life for that, so a little rough, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know, this is going to be pretty bad for the opponent. Natural order. This could also just be okay. Wow. All right. Goes and finds a Traxa. Contagion's a free spell. We have natural order, Allosaurus Rider. So this is probably just more of like a could just potentially just be elves with like Reclaimer and Shepherd. Could be some kind of like Nick Fit type deck, but I'm honestly hard telling. But our opponent is going to be able to get like Contagion or Snuff Out. I mean, at this point, it could just be Snuff Out. You know, go get Snuff Out, Contagion, Snuff Out or Contagion, Thoughtseize. Maybe just goes and gets Natural Order, depending on what's the other card in their deck. But they really have to make a decision soon. So I'm hoping that, for their sake, that they are up a game. Or rather, they, you know, don't have to win 2 games, rather. So they have 3 cards in hand. I mean, they're going to need quite a bit because they can't just throw Matron at this Atraxa. Although, like, a third, or I guess a Bombardier would be pretty good, in all honesty, because they could just throw something at their opponent. Smith, so yeah, they drew Snuff Out, or they kept Snuff Out. And then they don't get to add the mana, and then Atraxa is just going to get in there and attack and end the game potentially here in 3 turns. So we have 2 matches remaining. Gonna go up to 11, and it's gonna be pretty hard for the Goblins deck, I think, to come back from this. I'm not even sure. You know, like the Muxus is definitely gonna be something that they can use to get back in the game, but they're 2 lands away from it, you know, unless they're holding on to like a Chrome Mox. Well, no, this Collector Oof, they're just so far away from it. Unless they high roll, like they have another sticker Goblin. But they do have the Bomber. And there's not really a good attack or anything with this. But, you know, we're going to go for it anyway. Kill Reclaimer before they get the chance to block. So then they have to block with Atraxa and Collector Oof, which means that they could kill the Oof, free up the Chrome Mox. But I honestly don't think it's going to matter. Oh, they have a Dryad Arbor, so then they can just go this. They kill the Arbor. The Atraxa is going to gain 7 life. And, you know, just kind of delaying the game, in all honesty, because if our Goblin's opponent is up a game, you know, that's going to be really bad for this Reclaimer deck to, like, try to win the game. Or win, like, 2 matches. Definitely have the closing speed where they could potentially win, you know, in, you know, a few turns and negate the fact that they have, like, 3 minutes on clock. But I definitely don't envy being in this position. But if there was going to be a number of decks that could do this, definitely a deck that is getting back, like, Atraxas and things like that are going to be good. Goblins, I don't know exactly what they're going to be looking for, because even, some of the good spell, like Evoked Fury, pitching Muxus, they would have to be able to, like, reanimate this. Something like that. Split 2 and 2. They have Fire Blast, and that doesn't even do anything because it's like 4 damage. So they go get Underground Mortuary, put Cradle in the graveyard. All right, do you have Dead Gone? No, so then that's it. That's the game. So that also explains it as well. So that should be one of the last matches. There's only one match remaining. So let's go ahead and check it out. Wrap up our own personal coverage of the matches going on. Thanks, babe. Oh, it's cool. And Baku wins that one. So that's actually our opponent from match 1. Match tied at 1. Baku has 252 to try to beat the lands deck. Wow. So we'll see here. Wait for them to finish sideboarding. As we kind of wait for them. So we have split this. Since it's just been such a struggle here lately, I don't know why we have such a hard time with the stream and everything, because Spectrum is just the greatest internet service provider of all time. But yeah, if you are liking what you see, hopefully we'll be getting into some of our own matches and stuff here very soon once this one finishes up. But if you are not a subscriber to the channel and you end up watching this in the future, what have you, we do mainly Modern and Pioneer. I do sometimes play Legacy and things like that for ManaTraders stuff, just because it's like a free event that we get to play in and kind of do things with. Thanks, babe. So if you want to see any of that stuff, feel free to support me and my content and everything by subscribing to the channel, rate notification bell, all that fun stuff, checking out all the videos and stuff we have posted. We've gotten up to like 5-6 videos a week. We have like a podcast going with me and my co-host Randy, so you can check out the podcast and go support his channel, everything like that. We're just doing a lot of things on the channel and just trying to get out as much content as possible and just kind of make a push, because we're trying to get to a 1K subs by the end of the year. So if you want to help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. That said, let's go ahead. Let's enjoy, hopefully, potentially getting to watch like a match. The game here is successful, most likely because the game is already completed. Well, I would assume not. I mean, I'd imagine that they're sideboarding. But it is what it is. Ah. Oh, come on. All right, there we go. Transition back to over here. We have Darius 89 on the play, with Baku being forced to take the draw with that decision. Trying to make sure that we have things. So Mox Diamond pitching Sajiri step. I'm playing a Flagstone, say go. We have Volcanic and Dragon Rage Channeler. Looks like both players kept 7 as well, so that's going to be kind of good for them. I'm going to assume that Darius is holding on to some sort of wave, like basically getting to force through, getting to make a 2020 potentially. We'll see. Paying a white mana, they're going to ending the Dragon Rage Channeler, so that is going to take a threat off the board for Baku. As we pass over to their turn, no land from presumably the lands deck too, so that's pretty interesting. What they're potentially holding on to, like a crop rotation would have been like really good there, just because they would have also gotten a land because of the flagstones entering the graveyard, and then a land from the crop rotation, especially setting up like this Thespian stage. Like crop rotation there would have been pretty brutal, all things considered. But now we have Seek the Beast being cast. Our opponent, our lands player going for a Once Upon a Time with us on the stack, finding a land, so they'll have another land to play on their turn and have Thespian stage active. This is like kind of a way they could like slowly copy like copy flagstones, get rid of this other copy that they have in play. But definitely bouncing the Mox Diamond is a pretty heads up play, and then getting to Wasteland the Thespian stage as well is super brutal. Not casting either of the cards that they put into exile, but definitely brutal for like the lands player. The fact that they've gotten basically all their development like taken away from them. Not sure what they are. So green sun for 0. So this is going to get Dryad Arbor. Potentially they played Forest, so a little unfortunate. I mean, Baku definitely still has to like win the game. 2 minutes left on the clock, but not necessarily impossible when you are playing Murktide Regent. So kind of hoping that they can, probably find like a green source to play this Questing Druid. Probably even like a third land. Like they'll definitely take green source to be able to play like Questing Druid and Brazen Borrower. Brainstorm is definitely going to help out quite a bit, trying to put cards in the graveyard. Murktide Regent does get binned from the Surveil off the Dragon Rage Channeler, and we're going to, another turn, finds the third land. So Misty is active. This could go and get another Volcanic. So not even like prioritizing casting the Questing Druid, just trying to cast some cantrips and get this Dragon Rage Channeler on the line. Not the worst idea. If you need to absolutely just close out the game, like this is a way to close out the game. So definitely, for sure, not a bad idea. So attacks with a Dryad Arbor, Dragon Rage Channeler, entering the exile zone from the Swords to Plowshares. And there's going to be a few options, but I think we might end up timing out. I don't think we're going to have enough time to potentially finish this game and have it reach a natural conclusion. So we'll just see what happens. Questing Druid. Looks like a Murktide Regent, so this is going to get a counter. How big is this Murktide? It's going to be a 5/5. So, I mean, that is 7 power in play. No, this is a 3-turn clock, 50 seconds left. Path's Exile is a pretty brutal. Honestly, like that in itself could probably just like end the game right there. Elvish Reclaimer as well. Would like to see it have get the +2/+2 to be able to attempt to block this Questing Druid. More than likely isn't going to, just from all these like ponders and spells that presumably our opponent is on. Chooses not to shuffle, draws the ponder. Submerge, actually bouncing the Elvish Reclaimer. Again, pretty to and Veil of Summer as like a way to protect the Elvish Reclaimer, like just forcing Baku to like play these spells, and like interact and not put additional pressure into play. It's just is going to be just enough to actually close it out. And like this Wasteland getting fired off on Dryad Arbor is really heads up, not going after the flagstones because you're just going to be able to get a land back from the flagstones. But definitely the fact that, 1 card in hand, 7 seconds left, this isn't going to be enough. And unfortunately, Questing Druid is not going to be able to get it done. Had this game gotten to play out to a natural conclusion, I think I would have liked to have been on, Baku's side of things. Obviously, some of the decisions would have been a little bit different as well. So, like, there's the potential that this, like, Reclaimer, like, wouldn't be here. And, we would just be in this, like, position where, like, Reclaimer's gone. There's just these 2 lands in play. And, like, we're staring down an even bigger, like, Questing Druid. So, definitely a shame. But, that is how it goes on Moto sometimes. You just don't end up having enough time to actually like win your game. So you are kind of incentivized to play quickly in a lot of situations, and take your time on the decisions that are hard. But if you take time on every decision, you're gonna end up not doing all that great. No, not yet. So we are now just going to be waiting for our next match to start, or rather, figure out who our opponent is for our next match. That's not what I want. Done there. So for those that are maybe potentially joining in, whatever, as I pull up the deck here. Hello, hi, how are you? We are playing Legacy, a format again that we are not typically used to playing. We end up playing, a lot of Modern Pioneer and things like that, and we're jamming some Reanimator. Lost round 1 to the person that we played in like the last match, who ended up losing that round. They played very well, and ended up getting the win there, and then. Our round 2 opponent didn't show up, thankfully, because I did not want to play against Oops All Spells, and that is just like a pile and a half of cards that I do not want to play against or really see. But we're playing a relatively stock like Reanimator list. We have Atraxa, Archon, Gristlebrand that we're trying to get back, with some like special considerations, playing like Sauron the Dark Lord and Grave Titan in our deck. Grave Titan might be a card, like if I play this deck in the future, is a card that kind of gets subbed out for something else. But this package in particular is playing more, mid-rangey, I guess, in a way. Like if you think about it, we have Dark Rituals that we can kind of power out like a Grief or a Shieldred like on turn 2. On top of that too, it does enable kind of like a ramping in a way to cast like Archon, Gristlebrand, Grave Titan, and things like that on earlier turns. Okay, so we're playing against X-Whale. What's up, babe? Join X-Whale. Oh, Will Kruger, cool. So we get to play against Will Kruger in round 1 or round 3. I probably should message. Oh. All right, so let's. There we go. Haha. Yes. So we won the die roll. I would like to play first. And I mean, we just have like a. So let's look at their deck list real quick. Oh yeah, they're playing. All right, here we go. So they're on goblins. So we are going to keep this. This is just turn 1. We're going to be able to bring something back. They mulligan to 6. Unlicense her. Dear Chalice of the Void, Blood Moon, Smashing, Shatter, Skull, Smashing. No way of really like punishing anything. So Dark Writ, Entomb. I don't think we want to go get Sauron. We can go get Gristlebrand and just draw a bunch of cards. We can Atraxa. Go get like Archon of Cruelty too. Like they just kind of. I don't know if they necessarily fold to Archon of Cruelty, but it is just going to kind of get us some value here. 5, 8. Yeah, let's go get Archon of Cruelty. Archon, put pressure on their hand. The fact that they're already like lower on cards. And end up drawing, 5 lands in our our 14 land deck. Yep, alright. So, turn 1, win, achieved. So let's go ahead and check out our sideboard. How's that look? Man, I am like a troll with all that light on me. Alright, so... Alright, their deck list. What do they have on the sideboard? Dead Gone, Trinisphere, 3 Fairy Macabre, Caves of the Chaos Adventure. You take the initiative. Tax, exile the top card. Fiery Confluence, and then Pyrokinesis. So, Fairy Macabre is going to be the card that we have to worry about here. We could bring in something like Dismember. I don't know how good it is. Main deck Magus of the Moon. We kind of don't care about Magus. Wonder if we care. Like Dothy Voidwalker. I don't know if we really want anything. We could bring in like Bone Crusher to interact with like Goblin Rabble Master. Like this is more like a prison build. Like Dismember might be okay. So like bringing in stuff like this. Thoughts, like one Thoughtseize is gonna be a little bit worse. Again, like the Fairy Macabre is gonna be kind of bad. We got like Dance of the Dead. 4 Entomb, 4 Dark Ritual, Animate Dead, Brutality. Our Brutality's a little bit worse. Like Dark Ritual gets a little bit worse. Like they slam Trinisphere, so we're just kind of hoping that we can dodge Trinisphere if possible. It's like Sauron. Sauron probably. Trying to Magus them. Don't want to get cards out of their deck. Dothy Voidwalker. I mean, so pretty annoying that they have some kind of like Fairy Macabre, but like the fact that nobody's really playing super crazy busted things like in the sideboard. Like there's no Leyline of the Void. Opponent keeps 7. So we have Entomb's kind of whatever, because like with what we have, like we can basically just keep our opponent off doing stuff. Like chances are they do have like some kind of like graveyard hate. We're on the draw, so I mean we are going to get to kind of like wasteland them to death, and we're just kind of hoping that they don't have Chalice on 1. It's probably worth keeping for the fact that we're going to be able to keep them off, insane amounts of mana unless they, have a start like this where they Trinisphere, but like we're going to kind of like lock them out of like their own Trinisphere. So then just wasteland them now. We're going to have Swamp. We're going to be able to cycle Shatter Skull tapped. If we find like another land, like I'm willing to just fire off this wasteland. I mean, that's essentially another land. Just as much mana denial as possible. Yeah, and they don't have another land. Oh, okay, the second main phase, Mountain. Successfully played around the third wasteland that we don't have. Land City, but they're still not able to actually play anything. Swamp Cycle. Go get Undercity Sewers. Might actually... Do we actually want that? Blood Moon. I wonder if we actually want that. Yeah, put into your graveyard. I mean, that's technically a thing that we can get back. With the fact that we're holding on to like like 3 reanimation spells as well. Our opponent, I would imagine, has like a 3rd land. Yeah, City of Traders. So 3 mana for a Chrome Mox. So they could be working toward. Oh, and they don't. All right, play around Blood Moon, and the fact that like we're going to try to reanimate something, or we could just wasteland them. So we cast Reanimate, we put Troll into play. They could just have they could have the fairy. I mean, like, I'm pretty content with just like holding off. We don't need to absolutely go for it now. This Trinisphere is very annoying, but the fact that we have another land to play, and there's not really a way that they can just make us randomly discard a card. The fact that they keep drawing lands after we've drawn 3 wastelands is pretty rough for us. Kind of punishing. So 4 mana, Chalice on 2, you know, whatever. We have mono reanimate. So we'll go reanimate on. Will we go reanimate Troll and then reanimate Troll? Yeah, I'm assuming that they're okay. Okay, no, they don't have fairy. So, while not the most ideal card that we'd obviously want to have in play, this does, you know, eventually end the game. And of course, we found like another Troll too. Attack for 4. So we do that. Swamp cycle for another swamp. Play swamp. 5. They go to 12. We attack for 8. They go to 4. Draw 2. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they have Chalice. That's screwed up. Yeah, Trinisphere and Chalice is like super weird. I'm hoping it doesn't actually come up. Even if they play like a Fury, not super worried about it. They cast Chrome Mox. They actually have a Fairy Macabre as well. Gain 2 life. So then go to 8. We'll just cast Grief. See what's in their hand. Fury, Fury. So, I mean, they're going to be able to cast one of them. Which, I mean, they have to do this to survive. So then they get to kill Grief. Which is fine, but we're going to be able to reanimate their Fury and kill their Fury and ultimately kill them. All right, and we took down Will Kruger. Wow. very good for us. After kind of starting off pretty rough, all things considered, you know, the fact that we were able to win that game is pretty good. Granted, that's kind of like the matchups that we want to see is just kind of like those decks that aren't really like Force of Will decks trying to interact with us. We're just absolutely trying to kind of go over the top of them in that way. Chat is disabled for the slide. That's so stupid. You know, if my stuff actually worked the way that it should, then wouldn't be a problem now, would it? Want Boardweiser blockers plus an answer to Bombardiers. Don't over-respect Magus and dilute your strat. Wasteland, you gotta get something on Boardman for sure. Bad play, he can grind you out. You have to be the combo deck in this matchup. Reanimated Shieldred, because she's a faster clock than Troll. You literally gave your opponent 3 extra turns. I mean, is what it is. Like, we decided that we were going to try to mana denial. We knew that we were going to be able to get some things back. Like, we might have gave them extra turns, but, like, ultimately, like, I guess thankfully then it didn't matter. We decided to just try to be more denial than anything. All right, so let's get into some other matches. Let's watch and see what other people have going on. Oh, never mind. This game's over. Immediately get into a match and watch someone just like absolutely goblining people. Still look at my opponent's deck list. No, I can't. Oh, I can't view their deck still. The fact that they were on like 17 lands, they drew 1 Shatterskull Smashing, so they drew 18 lands, and I wastelanded them 3 times is like insane. And they still drew like extra 2 mana lands. All right, let's see if we can get into, try to keep matches going, and whether it's not mine or someone else's. Let's go here. Curse you, Streamlabs. Okay. Oh, of course. Oh my goodness. You all need to stop like losing your games like so fast so I can actually get in and talk about them, man. All right, let's see if we can get this one up. It's just going to be another match that ends like ASAP. No, this is like whatever. Like this is not worth it. No, we just watch that game. Wow. Try to find someone that we really haven't seen. All right, here we go. This seems like a match that kind of just started. Boom, here we go. So we got Show and Tell versus potentially some kind of like Murktide, like slash Grixis deck or Desha or whatever Delver deck. Saying if you run into goblins or prison, their goal is to stomp you. Don't want to grind with them. Focus on. You don't want to. Do not want to grind with them and focus on mana denial. So you're saying like I don't want to try to mana denial them? Because I mean, like at least like that's what I did on that turn. Was like the whole point of us taking that line in game 2 was just to like, you know, we eventually can kind of cast our things. We're going to like take them off of their mana and stuff, and try to lock them underneath of their own Trinisphere. I think if like their hand was just like a bunch of lands also, you know, is it really that bad for us? Like they're going to, I mean, they cast like Chrome Mox and then didn't put anything underneath of it, and then cast another Chrome Mox. The idea of like playing Fury, but we always had like a grief to hit it on the, like a turn before it was ever going to actually like be a problem, unless they just drew like their 4th or 5th like 2-mana land. By no means am I necessarily an expert of Legacy. I will take like any and all criticism of like trying to kind of play better and like navigate for sure. Just I at least I figured that worst case, you know, they'd have to draw like a billion different 2-mana lands. They don't, because they do that better than you. If they drew basically any creature other than Fury, or even just play Fury onto the board like they should have, it would have been a very different game. I mean, Fury wouldn't have done anything against like the troll. Actually displaced or like played worse than you. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to assume like at least if that like that's actually just Will Kruger playing. I think he's he's a very accomplished player. Not saying that he's like that he is a prone to like not playing bad, but I would assume that he probably played like pretty good, like to his knowledge and everything of like what was going on. I mean, either way, like we ended up winning that game. I took a line where I was just going to, you know, blow up any of their lands that were going to tap for mana, lock them underneath their own Trinisphere, and, you know, hope that would be good enough. And then, you know, it is what it is. It seems like that's been Legacy here lately. Meanwhile, our show and tell opponent is getting griefed after they just resolved an Atraxa, so I'm assuming they probably took Carpet Flowers, Veil of Summer, or I guess it could be like Ponder. No, instant. So it must have been Veil of Summer, because I would imagine Force of Will. So the last 6 cards. So they have Ponder, Force, Emrakul, probably to dig. All right, so whatever this like this is probably back on like Sultai control or what have you. Don't know what they could be considering. I'm assuming if there's like a storm count. At least I don't typically notice it unless there is like a storm card that matters. So I guess in theory, the opponent could have brought in something like a Flusterstorm. So we'll see. Ponder entering the cast zone. You know what? I do like the Scaminator. I love that name for like these Reanimator decks. I'm assuming like the opponent's either on like either Demir control or like Sultai. Being game 2, I would imagine, considering that there's a carpet of flowers here. I don't see blue-red reanimator being a thing, so maybe creativity could be show and tell. Oh yeah, that's true. Reanimator. Well, yeah, I guess they could just be blue-black reanimator. That's a good point. So yeah, and they did have a show and tell to put this Atraxa into play, so it would be show and tell. My brain is like all over the place. You know what? I'm gonna change my title to like Scaminator because I love that. Scaminator sideboards. Oh, reanimated strat. Switch blue black scam. Delete that title. Scaminator sideboards out the reanimated strat and switch to blue black scam. I think that's essentially what, partially what we end up doing. At least I assume that was just kind of like, hey, we're gonna bring in like tons of graveyard hate and try to disrupt you, and just like punishes them by doing that. Wow. Okay. So then they left the door open for a Arcana Cruelty to get taken. I definitely can't say that I love that for. Can't say I love that for our other opponent here. Or for our show and tell player. That could just be the game. So that's 3, 8, 11. So they go to 18. I guess they have like a carpet of flowers too. So I mean, this is like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. It's overall a pretty cool strat since people tend to over-respect Reanimator. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. That essentially felt like to me where, you know, if Reanimator is this like kind of 15-16% of the meta, like it says that it is, I would assume people would be packing like tons of graveyard hate. But like, for being honest, like the 3 opponents that I've played or that, you know, we've been paired up against, like had just had like fairies, like Fairy Macabre in like their sideboard, and like that's it. Which maybe is like them also just being like, well, this should be enough for it. But definitely the amount of like discard and stuff that this deck has, like I could only imagine that it would be a good idea to play something like Leyline of the Void. That's at least something I would want to see. Or, you know, I don't want to see obviously graveyard hate, but more or less like I want to see you know, be able to get them out of it. So Clay, wow. Oh yeah, they just have the Emrakul, so then they play Emrakul, they attack. Yeah, that doesn't matter because then they just have to sack all their relevant things. Not to mention also just dead to the attack too. If you face it, don't board against Reanimator, just board against a few decks. Oh, against a fair deck? How many matches are left? 16? Alright, let's see if we can find another one. Work on our game by game commentary. You know, pretend like we know what the heck we're doing, talking about. We actually just found the beginning of this one. So, turn 1 Goblin Welder from Beatrix into Savannah Reclaimer for Darius 89. I believe this was the lands player that we saw earlier. So, interesting to see. Fury pitch another Goblin Welder. Yeah, the reanimation targets aren't as good as yours, and you're just the faster deck. Yeah, I mean, I would assume against like show and tell. Like show and tell seems like a really good idea until it's not. Oh, this is like Painter too. I guess this is. Yeah. Wow. So could definitely be in trouble here. I mean, they can. What is this 3-minute activate? They have to have like they still have to get Painter plus Grindstone. But wow. So then turn 2. You have to figure out how to navigate this. So they had Reclaimer. Reclaimer went down. So then now it's just kind of on Darius to figure out, like, you know, are we going to deal with the Goblin Welder? Are we going to try to deal with Grindstone? Or are we just going to try to set up, you know, potentially combo? Just combo deck with a combo finisher. Yeah, Emrakul is a brutal card. I mean, just like everything from like show and tell, and it's like essentially like the Reanimator. If you get stuck with like the threats in your hand, like you want them in your hand rather than in your graveyard. The kind of like, it feels kind of bad playing show and tell, honestly, because if you're like, I want to have them in my hand, and Reanimator's like, cool, like I just have like these free discard spells that I'm going to end up picking apart your hand, and I'm going to take your threat, and then I'm going to reanimate your threat and use it against you, which is basically what we saw in that game where they could have they left an Archon in their graveyard. This Goblin Welder, wow. Love me some show and tell. I mean, I think just playing the format, and like I said, not being very not being necessarily a legacy player myself, just having played a lot of just really like playing Magic, and for whatever reason, like this is like the second or third legacy Swiss that I've qualified for like ManaTraders, and it always we do pretty well usually for like basically not touching the format until, you know, it comes up. Oof. So on to going up to 2 cards, plays another Urza Saga. 3 mana Fable the Mirror Breaker. Okay. Now this is not very good with the Collector Oof in play, making these treasure tokens that don't do anything, but if we can get Oof off the battlefield, the Shaman, the tokens will end up mattering. So, I mean, we'll kind of see what's going on here. Kind of sucks we can't see what's in our opponent's hands, but you know, it is what it is, I suppose. Man, it's so cold in here. And so legacy requires a lot of reps to actually be an amazing player. A lot of people are good, but they don't grind it out the format enough. Yeah, like I enjoy playing it, but the fact that between like YouTube and the formats that I can actually play in paper, it just to me doesn't personally make sense for myself to play like a lot of legacy and stuff. So usually I kind of gravitate towards these style of decks where, you know, I'm definitely not going to be necessarily outsmarting anybody, but we're going to try and kind of just legacy them, you know. I definitely have been a part of games where, you know, you just wasteland someone like twice and they don't get to play Magic because they didn't play around like a second wasteland or whatever, or draw another land to get out of wasteland, or, you know, like we did game 1, just opponent didn't play Force of Will or isn't playing a Force of Will deck, and we just had like turn 1 Archon into play. I mean, definitely if there was like if there ever gets to a point where I could just like stream and play Magic and stuff and like do that as like my job or whatever, I would definitely play a lot more Legacy, just from the fact of I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun playing Legacy decks because you do kind of get to do these busted things. So oof down. So the Shaman's gonna be able to goes and grabs Mox Opal. Probably would have made sense to like draw discard. I mean, I know you're kind of you're looking for Painter Servant or whatever at this point, but like if you would have milled Painter Servant, I think, yeah, because you could have added mana and then sack the Opal, go get Painter, and then activate. I'm just happy channels like Test, Bosch, and Roll, and 3BNU exist. Without them, Legacy would basically not exist on YouTube. Yeah, they are some very good content creators. I really wasn't like a huge fan of like Bosch and Roll like probably like 5-10 years ago, something like that. But definitely like watching more of his content and everything. He's pretty good. He's a very good player, very good content creator. 3BNU as well. Has some good content. The Epic Storm, I don't really watch a whole lot of them, but they're also pretty good. I like and enjoy watching their content. Yeah, definitely in recent years, with like modern, being like kind of dubbed like essentially Legacy at this point, because now Pioneer exists and Legacy being considered like vintage. I've heard in like people's like different circles and all that. I personally think that it's like disingenuous to Legacy itself, simply for the fact that in like modern, like the fact that in a format like Legacy, what's how I want to put this? The fact that in Legacy, like you do get to do the busted things, but like they're super unfair. Like Modern has some unfair things, but like the unfair things in Legacy, would like laugh at the unfair things in Modern, minus like the evoke a grief and then reanimate it back, because you're essentially doing it at sorcery speed rather than instant speed, in Modern, where you get that. So for me personally, I think it's pretty disingenuous. And there's like a lot of like counterplay and things like that. Like the format is just inherently more complicated, just from an expanded card pool. And then you go further and it's like you have to, take certain reads. Like you have to be able to kind of read the context of things a lot more than, I think we have to do in Modern. Frenzy Trap Breaker. It's a little rough. Although it does get to attack and blow something up. So, I mean, we'll kind of see what happens. They mill the opponent. Get back a servant. Okay, I guess this is kind of like a way that they can do this. So, surgical, the Painter Servant. Wow. Just waiting for them to put reanimate and MH3 and unban Ponder. So yeah, then we basically get like most of like the Legacy Reanimator deck. We just gotta wait for Wasteland and Brainstorm. Of course, like all the other like things in that format too, but Ponder would actually be pretty sweet for Modern. Doing Reanimate, I don't know. I think Reanimate would be, that might be too good. I think that's where like you want to have like some sort of separation from those formats. Like Reanimate is definitely to me like a Legacy card. What? Wow. Oh my lordy. All right, so okay, yeah, there we go. Like a symmetrical symmetrical reanimation is fine. That's probably how it'll go. I guess if there was gonna be a reanimator spell, like Exhum's like okay. Exhum is alright. So then they hit the reflection, which kind of makes sense because they can do that. Just a little dramatic out there. So attack, get rid of the Fable, so then they can't flip it, which is pretty good because they could just, they blow up the needle. They could just blow up needle, block, and then like sack kind of do the same thing. But I guess this way you go one more turn. I guess you don't necessarily need to blow anything up now that you have Painter Servant gone. Wouldn't it be crazy if we're just watching a match and turns out this one doesn't matter? That'd be a little rough. If I'm being honest, that'd be a little rough. Prismatic Ending, get rid of the Goblin token. The fact, too, that having to play like this Ancient Tomb, or having to, use the Ancient Tomb for mana, and, just not being able to activate Grindstone and just kind of like mill the opponent out, kind of feels bad. Like just having to take damage. Goblin Welder's going to do some work, though. Phyrexian Devourer? Okay, so exile the top card of your library, put X counters on it. So we got Devour coming back in. I guess it does does block. I do be blocking. And can, win the game. So Devour, puts X counter, X to exile. When it powers 7 or greater, sacrifice it. I believe that is like a trigger too, so. Alright, rotation, sacrifice, plains, bog. Rough. That definitely sucks. Like, the lands player definitely doing a very good job of just denying Goblin Welder like anything. And of course, having to do this because if they sacrifice it, like get sacrificed and then the thing comes into play. It's really fishing for dragons. Oh, dude. Fishing for a dragon engine. Oh, yeah. Hopkins, his leg strength. Yeah, we know that. We know that Hopkins has the leg strength. Rough. Yeah, this Trap Breaker. The fact that, the Painter's opponent can't, like, flip this Frenzied Trap Breaker. And, like, this is probably just going to end up being, like, good enough. Did you see? Yeah, that we got Cade York back. Why are we excited about that?
What do you mean?
Who cares?
Okay, crap,
We have a back. All right. Dismember, cool, awesome. I feel like this game is essentially over.
For you or them?
I'm not playing. I already won.
Oh. So
Yeah.
still 2 and 1?
Well, now 2-1. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah, it's still 2 and 1. Yeah, I'm still 2 and 1.
Okay, good.
Oh. Yeah. My microphone's so weird because there's times where like I mute it and it doesn't mute right away and then it does it delayed. Hey baby girl. Anyway, what I was saying was thank you for the for I guess the feedback on like the storm video. It was something I wanted to get out for sure and know that make sure I could get it out, and then just like the more I kind of do those things, the more that I can, find ways to improve on it. I know that like the editing on like my videos and stuff is like pretty much like super basic. I try to give myself as much time to record and then like make it a little bit easier like on the edits and stuff to eventually we'll get there. We'll have, better editing, more in depth and things like that just as we kind of get more time. But at least hopefully this is one of the matches that is a part of the event. There's only one match remaining, so I'll just kind of leave this up and kind of peek back and forth as we watch Jund, that just won't seem to go away. People play it in every format against this like beanstalk control deck. What is this? Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and like that's like a big thing that when I started like making videos and stuff. Aria, babe, please. Can we not be super loud?
What did you say?
I said, can we not be super loud, please? Anyway, like one of the things that I struggled with, like when I first started making content, like when I started my YouTube channel, like 7 years ago, I think at this point, and even like when I started back up a few years ago, was just like, okay, I want to make like the best thing possible. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I don't want people to like critique or say like, oh, you missed this, you missed that, whatever. And it got to the point where like, you know what, it's never going to be perfect. Like there's people that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and they might miss something, they might not do something right or whatever, and they're still going to get criticized anyway. So even if I have, and the game is over. Infusing Priest ends up winning that. That's great. Destructive Flow. That's an insane card. That is absolutely nuts that a card like that exists. I've never seen that card before in my life. But anyway, like something that I have learned to kind of accept that, like, you know what, videos aren't going to be perfect. I'm not going to be able to cover everything because then like a 10-20 minute video is going to become like 3, 4, 5 hours long, to cover everything, to kind of avoid criticism of maybe missing something and whatnot. So definitely something I had to learn was just like, you know what, put it out there, let people see it, and then have your other content going forward improve, rather than trying to make it so that every video that comes out is like perfect, because it's just not going to be a thing that happens. What is going on? Alright, so legacy things happening. Wasteland on Tundra. Opponent ponders and they choose not to shuffle. And they go and, they just play. Turn 1 was so good, we're going to do it again. We're going to go Tundra, Ponder. Choose not to shuffle again. And draw a card with Ponder. Could be, because I think this was like the... I guess if it's... Because I think the Bant, or whatever those control decks were mainly like Sultai, I thought. It's been a minute. Oh, okay, so this isn't even a match that we care about. Our next match is going to start soon. Stoneblade versus Delver. I don't know. I think this is still like the Jund matchup. our match is gonna start soon. Head over to Legacy. Beanstalk, because like that's just weird, like seeing Tundra. Do they really play a Tundra? This list doesn't. Yeah, I'm not sure. This could just be like some kind of like 4-color control deck. All right, join the match. Second path. All right, so we're playing against Eister. Ice, which was the kind of like reanimator. A little bit, they're pretty streamlined. They're playing like an Agatha's Soul's Cauldron. They are not playing Force of Wills or whatever, so we're basically just going to be two ships passing in the night from the looks of it. So let's get out of here. Change some things up. My play chart, it's really just 4 or 5-color control. Yeah, one of the lists I had seen looked like it was like a 4-color control deck, but then there was also another one that was playing like the combo, the modern combo. The force combo them out, good sir. Yeah, we're gonna hope that we win. You know, that we're on the play like we have been most of the day, and we just kind of just like stomp them. So I joined the match. Opponent, yeah, Dothy, Grief, Atraxa, Archon, Gristlebrand, and we can just kind of like go pretty deep for the combo. So they are on Moto, Icy, Terraday. All right. Here we go, joining the match. Here we go. They win the die roll. It's a little unfortunate. So we could be getting legacied. And they be in the game with 7 cards. Chances are they're going to be able to do their thing. Unfortunately, this is like Dark Rit, Cycle, Dance of the Dead. I jam a league right now, but I'm waiting the Spectrum guy to show up and reattach my house to my network. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to need them out here too, because like my stream had been disconnecting quite a bit. So our opponent kept 7, so they possibly just have like a turn 1 play, or they just have like a solid hand. I'm gonna go one more, go to 5. And we'll keep Brutality is like a way that we can get it, so we can go. Really wish we could keep like all these cards, but I think if we go Entomb. Can't be Entomb Troll. I think it needs to be Thoughtseize, because we're going to end up Collective Brutality-ing to discard. Or maybe it's Brutality. Because if it's Brutality, then I'm Thoughtseizing myself, and then like I'm essentially having to like cycle Troll and whatever. And I think... So it's like these. So between these... Oh, I need to keep this. So like... I'm probably going to regret it, but we'll put down Thoughtseize and... You know, hope our opponent doesn't like absolutely go off. They keep Thoughtseize. So I mean, this could just take Troll. And then we're stuck with these 2 cards. They could also just take Brutality. I'm assuming Troll, hoping that I don't hit the second land. And we just never get to cast these spells. first hand might have actually been pretty good if they were just kind of leaning on Thoughtseize. Yes, babe. Well, say go, and hopefully our opponent is just... I mean, they'll probably like Entomb Exhume would be my guess.
Oh, another reanimator.
Or reanimate, yeah. Yeah. Land and then dark red. So then this is probably, yeah, Entomb, reanimate. Yeah, I guess I'd assume that they were going to be able to, what's it? Oh, and they're going to get their own Grizzlebrand. Oh, Exhume. Oh, there you go for clicking too fast. I could have had a troll in play. Just making dumb mistakes, focusing on a bunch of other things. And they're just going to get to, like, do their thing. We're more than likely dead here. Absolutely a mistake. Want the land. They're going to see 2 dances, so... Dead for sure. Yeah, this Grizzlebrand is going to be a pain. So, take a dance and the swamp a Grizzlebrand. Yeah, even if I got troll out, like I'm not racing like Grizzlebrand, but it was definitely a misstep. Dark Ritual doesn't really do anything. I mean, like, we'll... Like, I guess the slimmest chance, because of Dark Ritual now, we can... I mean, they're just going to get to draw. I mean, they could just draw 7 now, attack, and then draw another 7. They're going to be able to discard us. In a way, just kind of, I guess, avoiding... Yeah, never mind. And that's going to be... I'll call it there. Because we would need to draw, like, Exhume, or Entomb. Like, we could have gotten the Archon. Winning card in the mirror. Alright, so their sideboard. They have, Sire, so they have Fairy, Crippling Fatigue, whatever. They have Dothies, so they have 2 Fairy, 2 Dothy. Coffin Purge is technically a card they can play. 3 Wasteland. Alright, so let's focus. So, Fairy in, Hearse in. Dothy. I don't know if... Depends, because I really don't want to get into like a pissing contest with them. I don't think Shieldred's all that great. Like, bar none there, it's like the worst card to hit, and I don't really want to draw it. I don't think Grief's necessarily the worst thing. I'm gonna shave a Grief. Thoughtseize is fine turn 1. Shave a Brutality, even though we can like ditch those cards. We are bringing in more of this stuff here. Animate Dead. I don't know if I just want to shave like board out Grief entirely. It's just that. I guess I don't hate that. I mean, like, these are definitely going to be the things that we focus on playing. Like, Still can interact. I guess that's fine. I mean, they're not going to have like Force of Will. Kind of stupid to have like the discard thing in here. Okay. I mean, this hand just denies them forever. Thoughtseize them. Potentially take their Reanimator spell. You know what? We'll keep it. We have some things that we can do. And they kept 7, so then Thoughtseize. They have Gristlebrand, Voidwalker, Grief. So we take Dothy's kind of annoying. If we take Grief, they play land go. We have to draw another land. Like we probably have to take Reanimate so we can actually cycle Troll and get another black source potentially, or we can just play. I mean, we have Reanimate basically like locked out, but we have to take Grief. But they can just Reanimate then on turn 1, so we have to take the Reanimate. Take Reanimate, they Grief pitch Gristlebrand, they take a thing, they have Dothy, but we can kind of keep them off Dothy. So I think we just go take Reanimate. So take Reanimate, they go Grief, pitch Gristlebrand, they have Dothy. And I think that's fine, because then they don't have a Reanimate spell, because if we just take Dothy, they can just go and Reanimate, and then we're in trouble. So I think it has to be Grief, they Reanimate. Yeah, so it just has to be the Reanimate. And potentially with like the mana denial stuff that we have, we can just keep them off of it forever. That's a pretty good draw. That was a sick draw. So, I mean, potentially just take the Unlicensed Hearse. They could take Troll, could leave us off double black. And they just take the thing. I don't know why that was even a consideration. And, like, these Wastelands are going to do nothing. Play Wasteland and plan to cycle Troll. Cycle the Troll, don't Entomb. So yeah, the double Swamp. Figured like this, I guess, gave them a window to like draw something, but like at the same time, they have Gristlebrand, so they have one card in hand we don't know about. Sauron's gonna be kind of hard to deal with. What if we just give them the game? Or go with our gut, because we're just gonna absolutely slam a Reanimator spell in the face of this Dothy, and they're gonna be sad. And you can have another Dothy Voidwalker. Pitching the Grizzlebrand, so they have one card in hand, which is this Theater. And we have a Fairy. Also possibly, yeah, I figured. No, they have one card in hand. We'll hold on to the Fairy. We're basically gonna just hope to deny them a reanimation. Faithless Looting in the graveyard. Reanimate target Grizzlebrand. I mean, we're basically gonna just try to deny them Faithless Looting, so we can just hit Grief. No, I think we just brought in like the Dothies and the yeah, the single copy dismembers here. We brought in the Dothy Voidwalkers. I mean, we're yeah, like just how things have played out, we have definitely kind of screwed ourselves. Dark Ritual is not going to do anything for us. 3, 4, 5. 5 mana. Gratzer Entomb because they 4/4. Okay, babe. Hey, stay back. Dance the Dead does virtually nothing, but gets back a troll. Let's exile with void counters on a Wasteland, Fairy, another Dothy. I mean, it's either that or like they get it, so I guess we have to keep it. Alright, troll. You're gonna have to put in some work, buddy. Go to 9. That back, that's 7. 3 turns, but they have 3 turns, so we need to. Bring back troll. Does deal a lot of, I mean, could potentially deal a lot of damage. Like our opponent does a 6, we hit them to 9. Something like a like Shieldred would be like a way that we could in theory like burn our opponent, but I believe we took out both Shieldreds. Yeah, we took out both Shieldreds, so that's not an option. Three, 4, 5, 6, so 6 mana. Evoke Grief. Sure. I mean, I guess they're gonna get it anyway, if I cast it or not, so. Get rid of that. They've already played that. His to 6. untap another land. Three, four, five, 4, 7. Yeah. Best phantom drawing animation. Of course, he has you in church. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty rough because like with them being at like plus, like +2, it doesn't matter. But the fact that like we're not 1 life higher is a little unfortunate. We haven't like necessarily fetched. Oh, cool. Anime dead. So yeah, this is potentially just the game. Like I don't even think there's anything that we can necessarily draw. Anime dead. Yep, unfortunate. All right. All right. So they did not fall for it. GG. Yeah, hoping that maybe they would have made a mistake and like fetched and like potentially could have gotten like surveil something. Chances, I mean, they probably weren't falling for it, but definitely trying to play to an out. I am going to take a minute here though, and I will kind of put things, kind of like take a minute, so I'll end up being right back. Alright, let's focus up and get ready to play. Kind of check out some of these other matches and stuff that are going on. Unfortunately, update our record to 2-2. There we go. We know that Baku here is on a control deck. We don't know exactly. I mean, Wasteland and Tropical Island. Let's see what they got here. So, Baku putting a card on top with the Dragon Rage Channeler. Chooses not to shuffle, obviously, because knows what the top card is, and I'd imagine it has to be pretty. The rest of the cards probably have to be pretty bad for him to not take that card in particular. But now putting a clock on Medvedev. That wasn't English at all. So another Dragon Rage Channeler. The opponent put in a really awkward spot here. Force pitching Dress down. Cross-legged here, and then upkeep, fire off the Wasteland. Our opponent has a Wasteland, so I mean we could just go back to, essentially nothing going on. Gets in, attacks, puts the opponent to 7, and we're, reaching a point where Med needs to actually do something here, and with Baku brainstorming, getting to kind of sculpt their hand. They're gonna have 7 cards in hand, and presumably playing a fetch land as well to kind of shuffle away some of these excess cards that are not going to be very good in this game. I wonder if we can see who is. We don't know who is up a game. If there is, we can presume that they've finished at least one game, so could potentially be the decider. Follows it up with a Delver. Doesn't actually have a fetch land, so either wants to keep the cards or just did not find one off of Brainstorm. And it's not going to matter because he is going to win the match. Presumably against probably a blue-white control or 3-4 color control. Potentially is what's going on. Let's find some more. Let's see what's going on here. Not really a whole lot. Watch this match, see what's going on. Oh boy, here we go. No, wait for me. There we go, yeah. Now here we have Painter's Servant again. We saw Beatrix last round. So we have, Beatrix doing their thing, milling themselves, and then there's going to be a Solitude, exiling a Flicker Wisp to, I would presume, hit, what are we targeting? Goblin Welder? Soul Guide Lantern. So, I mean, chances are I don't see anything like a, Stoneforge, Recruiter of the Guard. Yeah, so it looks like potentially some kind of stacks deck with Containment Priest and things like that. We're going to see Solitude things happen. So Goblin Welder, do whatever. Oh my goodness. So Phyrexian Devourer is actually going to be kind of rough. I'm assuming then we have Batterskull to put into play, or a Cauldra complete. Batterskull put into play, so it's going to force the Devourer to, I guess, grow. We're going to have to exile a card and potentially get rid of it, I suppose. Painter's Servant getting exiled, so it ends up being a 5-power creature. So it's going to get rid of it. But if they have a land, we're just going to be able to Batterskull loop and pay 3 to return to our hand, and then pay the other mana to put it back into play with the Stoneforge Mystic. Something like reminiscent of like the old days where people would play like Batterskull, and 5 mana was kind of like the sweet spot because you could play it, but with Stoneforge Mystic you could essentially put it into play at instant speed and always have a 4/4 lifelinker available to you. And eventually, just having Vigilance, you can just attack into a lot of things. Yeah, it's gonna be extra bad for the painter player, especially because if you can just gain 4 life every turn, like eventually you're gonna get there. So it doesn't look like they actually drew a land. So it's gonna be an attack with a Stoneforge Mystic, and then looking to potentially shoot down and gain some life would be my guess. Oh, and then this is like special. I mean, I guess either way, like if they blocked, it wasn't going to be good, because now they can just go -1/-1 on the engineer, -1/-1 on the welder, and in theory, Phyrexian Devourer can't kill you because if it gets to 7 power or greater, it gets sacrificed. So definitely in an okay position. Obviously would like to, pick up Batterskull and then be able to pick up Batterskull and be able to put it back into play with Stoneforge Mystic. But obviously not going to have the option for that. Oh, at least as of right now. I mean, could draw a land and end up getting it back. This Jite, though, is going to be able to do a decent amount of work here. So you can go to 3, you can attack, go up to 7, and still be okay in a way, like kind of race. Even then, like you could also just, if you draw your 5th land, you can just equip Batterskull, and you have like a 5 power threat with lifelink, and you're going to be in a very good position. But no land, which means that we're going to see Jite get some more counters. And then like these can just gain life as well, so we could just see, remove a counter, remove both counters to gain 4 life total. And then Devour is gonna be okay. 5th land, okay. Kind of weird to do that on 2nd main phase, because I don't know what you're gonna do with this mana. Like, I don't know if necessarily wastelanding Ancient Tomb is a good position to be in, especially if your opponent's just kind of top decking at this point. I think I would have liked to have seen, with an opponent having no cards in hand, just seeing like your just playing your land, equip Batterskull, attack, gain some life, and then you have access to more life. Or I guess if you have knew that you had something like this. Again, I don't know if getting rid of the Ancient Tomb necessarily does anything, but I would have definitely have liked to see, like anything. I would have liked to have seen, just equip Batterskull. There's no reason to do this, and you're going to kind of give your opponent a little bit of card advantage. Of course, it doesn't matter because you end up dealing with like the threat itself. But I just don't think at that time it was necessary, but it is what it is. Like, the line ended up winning the game, so it can't be like overly critical. So we had, I believe it was this game. I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong. It was Beatrix. So let's get out of here. Wait for them to finish sideboarding. And hopefully these games wrap up relatively soon. 8 matches left. That up. I guess I don't really need to bring any of that up. Just waiting for ManaTraders stuff. so we have Jamie going down to 6 cards and Beatrix keeping 7. So we'll see how this ends up playing out. You play Thoughtseize. See what's going on here. Eventually, when we let the Thoughtseize resolve. So takes a Goblin Engineer, looking at Fable the Mirrorbreaker, Painter Servant, Grindstone, and Urza Saga. So definitely here, we're gonna look at something like a Painter Servant, and if we draw a land, I'm assuming. My guess is that there is a wasteland. We can kill the Urza Saga, because if there's a land drawn here, it is game over. Or no, never mind. It's not game over, because they need 4 mana total to do it, and then yeah, here's wasteland. I mean, either way, like you have Grindstone. Play an Engineer. I'm assuming like this just goes and gets some. Oh. When it enters the battlefield or dies, Chaos Defiler. Each opponent chooses a non-land, non-permanent they control and chooses one of them. Destroy one chosen at random. That's a Magic the Gathering card. We are a Warhammer 40K'ing our opponent. I mean, at this point, like, the Painter Servant isn't necessarily doing anything. And this 5-power thing is going to end up ending the game real quick. Probably evoke Solitude. Destroy this Chaos Defiler. When it leaves, enters or dies. Okay, so it does care about dying. Opponent could still potentially set up some stuff, but now they have Fable, which is going to be pretty rough. Oh. What are we doing, opponent? So, well, I mean, Welder's not doing anything. Engineer, I guess, could potentially play around just some, like, surprise card, but opponent knowingly, has Grindstone. Technically, from the Shaman attack, we end up having enough mana to play and activate, but I don't think enough to get Painter Servant back and then play activate Grindstone. Apparition. Hitting the Welder. So they get to draw a discard. They discard another Painter Servant, draw another card, play their 3rd Saga. So I guess that just depends. So they can, like, float a mana with this one. And making the treasure token too makes it a little bit easier. So they can go and get Grindstone with the Saga, have a mana floating, play Painter Servant, and then the mana floating plus this activate. Or just even play this Grindstone. Make a construct, get that. Oh no, okay, mill our opponent. And then do this, so then they actually end up just dying this turn. Expert playing by the Grindstone player. Sacrifice an artifact. Return target with mana value 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Cool. I mean, pretty good games. 4 matches remaining. Try to find one more. We'll try to find one more before we basically, like, get into our game. Yorsh. Okay, so here we are. We got some stuff and things over on the other side. Some kind of lands deck. Some kind of lands deck, I assume. Against control? Beanstalk control, like a 4-color, 5-color build. 5-color build. They're at 1 life, and this Yorian having to hold back this endurance. Can't attack. They have 3 cards in hand versus the opponent's 1, but they do get to make a construct token, which is lethal. Yeah, I mean, barring anything from the opponent, from Burna, like Yorsh might actually just win this game by making a construct. They're just gonna make another one. Kind of a safe bet, all things considered. Being at 16 life, getting to search for another artifact. Goes and gets Haywire Might. These for a red or a green mana. Go on attack. These colorless lands or something must be like bugging out. I'm not exactly sure like what is granting them the ability to tap for red or green or white without actually copying this like Savannah. They have swords. So Haywire activates Haywire Might. Not with an Urza Saga. They just actually just tapped a land for green mana. Huh. Then Yorian. They do that, so they have to do it now though. So they get to trigger Urza Saga. They have to find a way to deal 1 damage. I'm assuming this is just going back and making another construct token. Oh, making Thespian Stage a copy of Island. Okay. So then they get to keep it around. Discard a Wasteland to keep the Mox Diamond around. And they can go equip Shadow Spear. Be my guess. I mean, I would assume to the construct. No attacks. I guess leaving up Thespian Stage to copy. I'm not exactly sure what you end up copying, but I'd assume then that you'd want to at least like potentially cycle Soul Guide Lantern, if that was like an option. Equip Shadow Spear so you don't have to spend the mana this turn. Figure out dinner here. All right. So what the heck, you guys? So you guys figured out yet? Dress down. annoying just because it gets to deal with the construct tokens. For of note, like the reason why that happens is because like the ability, like the constructs are 0/0s and they have like an ability, you know, that gives them +1/+1 for each artifact. So once they lose like basically all their card typings and stuff, they're 0/0 and they'll die to state-based actions once the enchantment enters the battlefield. Create a color. Oh yeah, so then that's why they get to keep all the abilities too. I knew there was like a play with there's like some interesting things you could do with like Urza's Saga. Now down to like 3 minutes. Definitely still has to figure out a way to win the game. This could, I mean, not this like in particular, but you know, the fact that putting Yorion in front of it, pretty bold, I would assume, to not attack with the potential lethal spell, but you know, I guess if you have Leyline Binding, that kind of opens you up to getting blown out, losing your endurance and your dude. This, though, not going to do anything. Or at least, you know, Yorion isn't going to be able to eat this construct. Oh, no, okay. Because they were getting +1, so I guess this would only make it a 4-power thing. Our control opponent might be pretty good at this whole Magic the Gathering thing, as it turns out. They are a bona fide professional. Got 2 matches left. So what do we got here? What are we doing? Triumph of St. Catherine. That's a big life-linking creature. And again, just from the fact that we're going to be able to make at least one construct every turn. Make a construct. 3/3. Doing what? Drawing a card? Yep. Kind of forced to find some kind of action. We could potentially just see another like timeout. So then what they can activate, and then Island or Thespian Stage copy Island, that's copying all the Saga abilities. I mean, I imagine, honestly surprised not to see like a, so what, we can make a construct. Thespian Stage copy? I mean, I assume like we have to be doing something. Crop rotation. This is a Force of Negation. So then now copy Island. Oh, cast another crop rotation. Okay. So instead of potentially winning this turn, I'm assuming that this then gets Dark Depths. And we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, having double stage is pretty good. Yeah, and then being able to copy. So they have to keep the right one, which they have to then keep the Thespian Staged Dark Depths. They get a 20/20. Opponents went through 2 Leyline Bindings and a Swords to Plowshares. Mox Diamond comes in. Pitching Ghost Quarter. Ooh. And I think this is potentially lethal, so they block and they take 13. Okay, so then they have like a Leyline Binding. Or binding or okay, no, they do not have it. They just end up taking lethal. So that is the match. Yorsh ends up winning and beating the 4-color control, 5-color control. Pretty good game, honestly. That's all the matches and stuff there as well. So I mean, we'll go back to our normal Magic Online thing, and we just wait until we are good to go for our next match. So who are we waiting on? Oh, 36 matches remaining for this round. Okay. There shouldn't be 30 more. 36 more. Okay. Create the match. Match starts at 5. Okay. Where is my opponent? Press 5 minutes before the start of the match. Refresh the page if needed. 150. So, okay. Tiki Dan. I feel like I know that moto name, but I could be wrong. So, I create the match. Tiki Dan. Seeming Scary Guy, Brazen Borrower. So they are a show and tell deck, and this might have been someone we have seen earlier. So they have 4 force, 4 days, Ponder Brainstorm, all that fun, happy stuff. Things that we kind of expected to see. What do they got on their sideboard? Cage Surgical is kind of what they have. Definitely kind of punished for, playing the other, kind of just like playing the transformational sideboard. So then round starts in 3 minutes. You have 5 minutes to create, otherwise you lose. Make sure you can reset the moto from Diggy Dan. Wait for our opponent to eventually join our game. They still have a few minutes left before the round technically starts. Alrighty. Alright, so what the heck are we gonna do? So they are show and tell, sneak attack. I mean, I guess technically we have a pretty good card in Archon, but they also have an Archon. I don't know how you just don't play Archon of Cruelty in show and tell. I can understand Atraxa and Emrakul and stuff. Those are pretty big, but just finding room for at least a second Archon. Just because I would think that if you put your opponent puts something into play a lot of the time, like you're just gonna be able to kill it with the show and tell. That said, I'm sure that with enough bowmasters, that like just the sacrificing on Archon is not like good enough. All right, there we go. Our opponent joined. There we go. We are on the draw, more than likely. Unless we are playing against, chooses to play first. Okay, so, wow. So we have no gas. I mean, we have Undercity. I can't imagine this hand's like a keep. And we have like Reanimator stuff. They're doing unfair things. And they're on the play too as well. So we could draw. If we draw a threat or like play Undercity Sewers and find a threat. How does it win the game on the spot like the rest do in the trade additional? Legacy, so much card selection. Wasteland Cycle Troll. I mean, we technically can play a Shieldred. I don't think Shieldred is necessarily like backbreaking for this deck, but I mean, if they spin their tires, we have interaction. I think I'm gonna try this. We're gonna try it. We'll see what happens. I'd assume that they go like, you know, fetch Ponder or something like that. So like probably Trop. Was it like, oh, okay, basic. So I mean, they know they were playing 4 Wasteland. So this Wasteland might kind of suck. At least this Ponder isn't just like a slam dunk. It might be close. Not shuffle, so they put them back and choose not to shuffle. What do we draw? Opponent, can I please go to my draw step? I would like to look at my government issued Magic the Gathering cards. Sweet, another Wasteland. So, arguably the worst draw in our deck. So we can go Troll. Cycle Troll. Go and get Swamp. Draw another land is not ideal. Thoughtseize, and if they have like Force plus blue card and then like land, whatever. Force Daze Atraxa. Wow. Woo doggy. So presumably, if we don't take this Atraxa, our opponent then has like Force Daze. But then like all our reanimation spells, just like we have like a sweet target. I think that it has to be Atraxa. And then like these other things, like whatever. Brazen Bar is gonna kind of suck if we draw like our enchantment reanimate spells, but at the same time, you know, we're still gonna, and they can end up getting this back in their hand. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm just gonna take Atraxa. Give ourselves another reanimator target. Five cards in hand, 5 revealed, so Force Daze. Take their one threat. Plays Volk. I think we're actually gonna want to keep like our wasteland and stuff. Cycle. Get another swamp. So we could go brutality. Like brutality, take force, underwater, under city sewers. Draining them, I don't think matters, so we can go this here. I'm gonna play this land anyway, so I mean, we're gonna play ourselves into days if they want to hardcast days. They do not. They add Ancient Tomb. So we take. I mean, days we can virtually just play around for the rest of the game. Take a Force of Will. Put that into our graveyard. Ancient Tomb, Petty Theft. So they have 4 cards. So they have Force Days, Borrower. Kind of hoping that we draw like a Reanimator spell, because then we can like Dark Ritual. We can Dark Ritual Shieldred. And then if our opponent doesn't do anything, let's play a Brazen Borrower, sure. I guess they need to close out the game somehow. Ancient Tomb. So we know they have Force Days. Really want to draw a Reanimator spell. Come on. Grave Titan. I mean, with that, we just hardcast a Shieldred. 2 mana, and they just get the hardcast Days. Which is fine. We have 11, still 11 reanimation targets. We're also getting to the point too where like we could just like we can just hardcast Grave Titan here eventually. Obviously we're gonna try to like Dark Ritual, like just test them. Well, pretty good. They found Emrakul. Yep. Guess now we just try to put like a bunch of things into play. I don't. Well, that's kind of like a kick in the teeth. Finally drawing that. So if we go and get Atraxa. Could pretend. I mean, this like puts a blocker in play for the Emrakul. We end up drawing a bunch of cards. At least looking at quite a few cards. So Entomb. Entomb. So we have Dark Red up to 3. We can go Entomb, Animate Dead. Land. Probably Grief. Grief Reanimate. So we go Dark Ritual to 3, 4 mana, Entomb. Entomb. This protection from colorless spells, Annihilator 6. Probably just want to put as much as we can into play. Done. Dark Ritual. We'll Entomb. I think that now we could actually just put like an Archon of Cruelty into play. We do that, put Archon. They have to sacrifice this. We have 3. Actually attack and get more things into play. If we just reanimate this. Animate the Archon. They discard Force. We draw another card. Ends up being a troll. Guess Wasteland. So we have a bunch of things in play. I don't think it matters. I think we actually just beat a Numerical. Flying Annihilator 6. Sure, take 8. And I don't think we have any reason to reanimate anything. They don't have Force of Will. I'm not sure exactly what they can draw. We literally be just trying to put more things into play, so we'll pass. Bottom 2, draw. Suppose you have to do it. Definitely at least sacrifice Grave Titan. And they can't reanimate their own thing. So yeah, we just keep Archon around. That does give them back the Atraxa, but with like 1 card. Yeah, okay. Whew. Wow, we won that game. We know, I'm about to use the bathroom so bad, so we know that they have Grafdigger's Cage and other BS, so Master. Cut some of these cards. I'm gonna cut like Shieldred's probably fine. I don't know if Sauron is all that good. I'm actually gonna cut a Sauron. I'm gonna cut another like Animate Dead or Dance of the Dead. Yeah, whatever. I think I want these sort of things, so I'm gonna use the bathroom. So now my microphone decides like when it wants to mute. So at least with this preordained, now we can ping a Bowmaster. Or we can get a ping with Bowmaster. And like I said, this, like in theory, does put some things into play. Taking pretty long on this preordained. At least I hope that they're taking on the preordained, and I'm just not connected from Moto again. So they topped 1. Plays basic mountain. We'll entomb. Tank on this, so they could. Days of the Dead, Grizzle Brand. I think I potentially just want Archon in my hand if they end up just going for a natural thing. So let's go ahead and put an Atrax in there, and then we'll just like a total, you know, like a Giga Chad, just like bring back the Atraxa. All right, show me what you got. If you have a Force of Will, this is kind of what I assumed that they would have been saving it for. All right, cool. I guess kind of walked right into Days. I also wouldn't necessarily have expected them to keep in Days, but Ging got just the legacy things. Replays the island. Ponder. Kind of want them to spin their tires here. Maybe find like another land and then like have to brainstorm would be sweet. Of course, like it probably wouldn't matter at that point. Like the chances are if they brainstorm, like it's not going to be lethal, nor would I be able to attack with a giant orc army. Tanking a while on this Ponder. Either one could be like a good or a bad thing, I suppose. Look at what we got here. So we have... Does not shuffle. Ping you. Let's go to 14, 4. So we have a 4-turn clock as it stands. Unfortunate. They had both basic lands. They have like 3 islands, but they found like 1 mountain as well. I mean, not like that is like the worst thing in the world either, but if we discard and drain them, puts them at 12, that does increase our clock. That takes a turn off. Keep the shielder around. Could potentially come up. Surgical show and tell. Wow. So they just kind of had it too. So I mean, we take show and tell. Their hand's just kind of bad. Plays Ancient Tomb. Oh, did they just have Sneak Attack? Yeah, that's a good one. All right, Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual, and it's game over. Wasteland. Alright, so what are the chances that they just put Fury into play? Probably 0. Unfortunate that they top decked Sneak Attack. That was exactly what they needed. So they can go Emrakul, hit us 15, put us to 7. I guess technically this is not lethal. But chances are they're just going to Emrakul. They can never tap this Ancient Tomb. Alright. I mean, technically speaking, we're not dead. They can't Surgical. They can't tap Ancient Tomb. Assuming that this is an Emerald. Oh, no, this is Fury. Okay. So, yeah, they decided to just put Fury into play. This still opens the door for Dark Ritual. Okay, so yeah, they just had Lotus Petals like the other card they drew, so then that'll do it. Well, I guess technically not. Like we go to 1. We go to 1 and they just have Surgical left. All right. Whoever blinks. So then they stack it so they can get rid of sack Fury, sack Emrakul, shuffle everything back in. All right. Here you go, opponent. All right, so I mean this Bowmaster, like we draw Swamp, we draw a Black Source. Obviously Swamp being like the best thing. Oh my goodness, they found another one. Wow. Rough stuff. You hate to see it. Yeah, wow. They had to top deck that too. Oh my goodness. I mean, we weren't. I mean, I guess a few turns later, but like we also couldn't like fetch either. So that's a shame. No, that was a game that we could have won. Oh, so what else are we looking at here? Dance. I really didn't want any of these things. I wasn't like left wanting more reanimation. Fury, Surgical, Stifle, Grafdigger's Cage. All right, game 3. A little rough. Just a little rough. So defense grid. So yeah, they're not playing anything like defense grid. Abrade. So what's this? Whatever our opponent casts a spell, a ring tempts you. Opponent casts a spell, mass 1. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. I just think there's probably better things to do than that. Our opponent absolutely like going for Heart of the Cards, and I'm jealous because we were just looking for a black source at that point. All right, we won the die roll. Sheesh. I think so. I kind of want to keep it. Thoughtseize. We have double Bowmaster. We don't even necessarily need to Thoughtseize on one. Oh. Let's go. They keep 7. So we can Thoughtseize on turn 1. Thoughtseize we shall. We're going to high roll. No fear. Opponent, show us what you got. Emrakul, Force of Will, Fury. So we take... Wow. We take Fury, they have Force and Brainstorm. We take Force, they still have Brainstorm. They can shuffle this shit away. And I think we just have to stop them from finding a way to... Oh my god. So if we take Fury, we try to reanimate, they're going to force pitch blue card. Because I can only imagine that they, just brainstorm, at least in response to us trying to do it. So if we take Brainstorm, leave them with Force Will, they have to top deck a blue card. And they don't have any way of putting anything into play yet, and they technically can't even cast it yet. I'm just going to try to deny them cards. And then it'll be up to them. And the fact that they have 3 threats in hand, dude, is like absolutely nuts. And I'm just kind of waiting for them. Okay, now they're passing. Or at least going to their turn. So they have 6 cards in hand. Island. Alright, untap land would be great. Grave Titan is not a good one. Now we play the waiting game. Oh boy. Fetch land. Grafdigger's Cage. Creatures in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Sure. Fine, just naturally finds Grafdigger's Cage. Players can't cast spells from graveyards, can't enter from graveyards. Stop on their upkeep. And we Bowmaster. And I think we have to do this. All right, clock assembled. Still hoping to draw untap land. I mean, at least 2 Bowmaster if they have to spin their tires would be kind of nice. Untap land. Another Dark Ritual. All right. I don't think this is what people had in mind when they just had like Dark Rituals for days back in the day, where you just like play Dark Ritual to play a 2-mana 1/1 with Flash. But here we are. Brainstorm is going to hurt, and I actually think it would be lethal. Oh, found it. All right, cool. Yeah, that was stupid of me. That was stupid. Wanted to play around potentially Force of Will, and now they're just going to get to blow up our board, and we are so far behind, and that is definitely on me. Would like to find some lands. Yeah, just bad for us. Yeah, and of course they have Brainstorm too. Yeah. Definitely if we just waited until they like cast this Brainstorm and just get them with the get them with it. They're definitely going to be able to find their lands. Like, we just punted this game pretty hard. Man, kind of sucks. I was kind of talking that shit, to be honest with you. Like I said, I had played against quite a range of decks and like did relatively well. Third Dark Ritual, and unfortunately has not really didn't translate to anything, which kind of sucks because I mean I've played against a lot more Graveyard Hate than what other people have been playing in this tournament, and you know had been kind of doing pretty well for myself. So I'm assuming this here is like a just can't enter, creatures in graveyards and libraries can't enter. So is this a sneak attack? It kind of smells like sneak attack. You're presumably have Emrakul as well. Troll, please. Oh, another Bowmaster. All right. I'm assuming that we have then just like put Emrakul into play. They could have potentially shuffled those away. Archon of Cruelty. Okay. I mean, these reanimation spells aren't doing anything. So then they have Emrakul as well. I mean, I'm assuming they at least kept one. Like if they found sneak attack, they kept at least like one, or maybe I guess they could have like shuffled both way because they found Archon, but still, like I guess I highly doubt that they did not have one. presumably you see an attack here. I just want to see the attack. Concede match. Yeah. A little unfortunate. Oh well, is what it is. Streaming was definitely a struggle. A lot more than I would have wanted it to be. But, you know, it is what it is. Just kind of like dealing with Moto and whatever other stuff. Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, we've resigned ourselves to it. The fact that we made it here, right, is like a kind of a good, at least to me, just kind of like a good thing. But definitely going to keep me undone. Yeah, I'd like to drop. I'm off of it. I'm out of here. You know, probably could have prized or something, but like if we're not gonna play for top 8, then I am a-okay with kind of ending it there. So, you know, hope if you're watching this in the future, you know, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, all that fun, happy stuff. Maybe I'll stream tonight. We'll kind of see how it goes. I'll probably just end up playing some Pioneer or whatever to kind of get those juices flowing, just to be prepared for the RCQ season. So yeah, thank you all for watching.